Welcome to another edition of Life, Love, and Philosophy. This is the third in a series of programs I'm doing on Seneca, a very famous philosopher of antiquity. Despite the fact that Seneca lived approximately 2,000 years ago, his ideas about how to live a more tranquil, fulfilling life are as relevant to us today as they were to his contemporaries in the ancient Roman Empire. Like all great thinkers, his relevance is timeless. Seneca equated wisdom with having a sound mind, and he equated a lack of wisdom with having a sick mind. His basic philosophy was this, and I'm quoting him: "I look for the best in life, but I am prepared for the opposite." He's a realist. While he believed that we can achieve more tranquility and joy in life, he did nevertheless believe that life is difficult. And he uses such expressions as these: life's no soft affair. Life's a rugged journey. Like his fellow Stoic philosophers, Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, Seneca's aim is to help him and us to get over the bumps in life. According to Seneca, what do we all experience? Well, he says we all experience in life slips, falls, knocks, fatigue. And he says it's not unusual that people sometimes wonder whether life is worthwhile. Seneca indicates that in a certain sense we must all be like boxers. How so? Well, Seneca indicates that we must all learn how to take a punch. Seneca believed that if we wish to understand human life better, we must understand the natural world around us better. He says, for example, and I'm quoting him, "Clear skies follow cloudy. After the calm comes the storm. Winds take turns to blow. Day succeeds night. It is by opposites that eternity endures." According to Seneca, wisdom involves accepting life on the terms on which it is given to us. He compares trying to force life to work in a way in which it won't, to rowing a boat against the stream. Our most important task, he says, is to seek wisdom. And how does one seek wisdom? He claims the best way to do it is by studying philosophy. Seneca claimed that philosophy at its best consists of the knowledge of how to live and how to die. Specifically, Seneca claimed that philosophy helps bring what is in the darkness into the light. He also said that philosophy teaches us how to endure what we cannot avoid. And also, studying philosophy allows us to converse with great minds. For example, Seneca claims that when we study philosophy, we can converse with the likes of Aristotle, Socrates, and Epicurus. Here are his own words, again about reading, which he considers to be a form of conversation with the great thinkers. "What happiness, what a fine old age awaits the person who has made himself a client of these thinkers. He will have friends who can offer him advice on the most important topics in life." And he adds, another plus in reading and studying great thinkers is that they can provide models for us on which to pattern our lives. It reminds me, the idea of Seneca claiming that when he studied the great philosophers, it reminded him of having a conversation with them. That reminds me that when I read my quote cards, and I've mentioned to you I have a collection of thousands of 3x5 cards in which I've jotted down quotations from famous thinkers in philosophy, literature, and other subjects. And just about every day I look at some of these quote cards. Indeed, when I go out to dinner by myself, which I sometimes do, I often take cards with me, and while I'm eating dinner, even when I eat at home, as a matter of fact, I will often look over these quote cards. And again, I often feel that when I'm reading a quote by Tolstoy or Shakespeare, for example, that in some way or another I'm conversing with them. Another advantage of studying philosophy and literature and other subjects in the humanities, as well as science, is that boredom will not be a problem in life. Seneca says this: if you apply yourself to study, you will avoid all boredom in life. He goes on to say, you will not long for night because you are sick of daylight. It is interesting how many famous thinkers have commented on the role boredom plays in the typical person's life. Schopenhauer believed that not enough of the great thinkers had paid as much attention to boredom as a factor in human living as they should have. Schopenhauer said this about boredom, and I'm quoting the famous German philosopher. He said, life swings back and forth like a pendulum between suffering and boredom. Shakespeare's Hamlet also commented on boredom. Shakespeare has Hamlet say the following: how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Perhaps if Hamlet had read philosophy, maybe he would not have found life to be so stale and flat and unprofitable. Seneca claimed that a very important characteristic of wise people is that they tend to use their time wisely. He believed that much of the lack of fulfillment in living that many people experience is due to the fact that they don't use their leisure time as profitably as they could. Seneca is especially harsh on social butterflies. He talks about people who are extremely sociable, and he says that many of them risk wasting time in frivolous conversation. He says they delude themselves into thinking that their contact with other human beings is meaningful contact. Seneca describes social butterflies and the kind of contact they have with their fellow human beings in this way. And I'm quoting Seneca. He calls it busy idleness. Busy idleness. Seneca is not suggesting that we avoid socializing with people. Rather, he believed that our socializing should involve, again, meaningful human contact. And what is meaningful human contact? Well, it's contact with other people that involves sincerity, affection, stimulation. If people are stimulating their friends' thinking, that's meaningful human contact. And also, meaningful human contact can involve service to others. Indeed, if we are stimulating our friends' and relatives' thinking, and they are stimulating our thinking, in a certain sense, we are providing a service to each other. Seneca also believed that our socializing should not interfere with our attempts to cultivate our minds and souls. Indeed, a very desirable kind of socializing is to be with people who can help us to cultivate our minds and souls. And remember, Seneca believed that in reading and studying famous thinkers, we are, in a sense, visiting them and socializing with them. And in fact, here are Seneca's own words about reading Aristotle, Plato, etc., and in a sense conversing with them. He says this: none of them will be too busy to see you. They are at home at all hours, whether day or night. Seneca says that we should periodically review how we use our time. He says, and I'm quoting him, hold an audit of your life. Reckon how much of your time has been spent at work, how much of your time has been spent quarreling with your wife, and how much time do you spend fulfilling your social obligations. And I think if Seneca were writing today, he would want people to think about how much time they're spending on cell phones and whether some of that time might not be used more productively. Seneca said that many people claim life is short, but he says that if they use their time more wisely, they would not think life so short. Seneca also commented that retirement affords added opportunities for study and service to others. Indeed, Seneca believed retirement could perhaps be the best time of one's life. Here are his own words. Seneca said that retirement provides many people with their finest, he says retirement for many people involves, and I'm quoting him, their finest achievements. He says their finest achievements are seen in retirement. I'm sorry I messed that up. Again, Seneca says, for many people, their finest achievements are seen in retirement. He goes on to say that retirement offers special opportunities for introspection, for increasing our self-awareness, for increasing our self-understanding, and that increasing our awareness and understanding can lead to a more tranquil, joyful life. But he does add this. He says that in retirement, for example, it's very important that we put more energy into deepening ourselves than simply amusing ourselves. Again, he advises us that in retirement, we spend more time deepening ourselves than merely amusing ourselves. Seneca goes on to say that many people say life is short, but he says, and I'm quoting him, life is long if you know how to use it. Among the common mistakes Seneca believed people often make are the following. He says some people's lives are guided by insatiable greed, and they waste so much time trying to satisfy their greed. He also says some people are dedicated in life to useless tasks. Other people, he says, cannot overcome their laziness, and because of that, life is less fulfilling. He also adds that some people have no fixed goal in life, that their lives are characterized by a certain fickleness. He says such people don't work out the value of time and act as if time costs nothing. Seneca claimed that one of the benefits of learning, of deepening ourselves, is that it puts us in a position to teach others. To teach others what? To teach others how to achieve a more fulfilling, emotional, spiritual life. As much as Seneca emphasized studying and cultivating self-discipline and using our time wisely, he also wrote about the importance of having amusing diversions. Seneca claimed, we will concentrate better if we take periodic breaks from concentrating. Seneca said that our minds our minds must relax. And some of the ways Seneca believed we could successfully amuse ourselves are the following. He says physical exercise is a great diversion from studying. Seneca himself liked to jog, but he also talked about weightlifting, something he also engaged in, and also walking in fresh air. He also said another pleasant diversion can involve a change of scenery. In his day, he liked to take a ride in his carriage, horse-driven carriage. Today, of course, perhaps we could take a car ride, or given the traffic on Staten Island, perhaps a bike ride in a park, maybe at Great Kills Park, could be a way to experience an amusing, successful diversion. He also talked about socializing with compatible people. And also, Seneca said, another pleasant diversion is drinking wine in moderation. That's right, drinking wine in moderation. Seneca is the only philosopher I know of who spends quite a bit of time about talking about the benefits of drinking wine, in moderation, of course. He says this, and I'm quoting him, "Wine can liberate the mind from its slavery to cares, and even embolden it for all its undertakings." He goes on to say, wine can help the mind to rejoice without restraint. And he says this, and again I'm quoting him, "Austere soberness must be banished for a while." Of course, the key is moderation. One of the characteristics of a wise person, according to Seneca, is flexibility. The Stoics, and Seneca was, of course, a Stoic philosopher, they believed that so much of life is unpredictable. Yes, we should make plans, but we must realize that circumstances that develop may interfere with the realization of our plans. So Seneca says this, and I'm quoting him, "We should make ourselves flexible so that we do not pin too much of our hope on our set plans and can move over to those things which chance brings to us." Again, move over to those things which chance brings to us. Seneca does comment on the importance of relationships, with other people. Like the Buddhists, Seneca, when he talks about human relationships, talks about right association. He says, we should try to avoid associating with people who are not good for our peace of mind. He says this, and I'm quoting him, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome people who are capable of improving yourself." He says the process is a natural one. Men learn as they teach. It is interesting that the Buddha said there is no companionship with a fool. Seneca would have agreed with that. Aristotle believed there are three main kinds of friendship, going from the least important to the most important. They are friendships of utility, friendships of pleasure, and the highest kind of friendship, according to Aristotle, was a spiritual friendship. And what do people give and get in a spiritual friendship? What they give and get is what they give and get is example in the art of living well and living virtuously. Seneca also, like Aristotle, believed the highest kind of friendship has a spiritual dimension to it, so that each party to the friendship is helping the other person to live better, and that involves living more virtuously. Seneca agreed with Aristotle that we should choose friends for their characters. Seneca believed a requirement for the highest kind of friendship is the ability to love. And how does one go about being loved? Seneca raises the question, how does one go about being loved? And here is his answer in his own words. If you wish to be loved, love other people. Seneca claimed a good friendship can be one of the most satisfying experiences in life. But we should remember that we also need solitude and silence if we are going to attain our maximum intellectual and spiritual growth. According to Seneca, we need people, but we also need to get away from people. We need conversation, but we also need silence and solitude. Seneca claimed we should talk with ourselves more than with others. Like many famous thinkers, Seneca believed most of us talk too much and waste a lot of time in idle, useless conversation. Seneca reminds me of Gandhi. Gandhi, in his autobiography, pointed out that Monday was his day of silence, that if you attempted to talk to Gandhi on a Monday, he would not speak with you verbally. He would answer you in writing. He was trying to discourage people, of course, to talking to him on Mondays. And why did Gandhi use Monday as a day of silence? He said it was a way of re-energizing himself, and also a way of gaining perspective, of reminding himself of what was really important in life. Gandhi felt he did his best thinking on Mondays when, again, he took time for silence. Many famous thinkers also remind us that so often our great use of words is to hide our thoughts. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Our great use of words is to hide our thoughts. Thoreau commented on this. Thoreau commented on our mask wearing and how our inhibitions also get in the way of good communication. Here are Thoreau's own words. We never exchange more than 3 words with a friend in our lives on that level to which our thoughts and feelings habitually rise. Buddha and Jesus both urged people to pay far more attention to how they talk to other people and how they talk about other people. Indeed, the Dutch philosopher Spinoza said this about how we talk to other people, and I'm quoting Spinoza. Men govern nothing with more difficulty than their tongues. Again, men govern nothing with more difficulty than their tongues. You know, there can be much happiness stealing in conversation. People are often motivated by envy, spitefulness, and anger. It's so easy to forget that we can sin with our tongues. Again, it is so easy to forget that we can sin with our tongues. Jesus commented about the idea that what comes out of a person's mouth can defile a person. Of course, we can also promote love with our speech. We can encourage others, praise others, stimulate others' thinking, show affection to others, and use our speech to teach others. When was the last time you heard a sermon or a lecture on what the great thinkers have said is the appropriate way of talking to other people? While a good friendship can add spice to life, Seneca believed self-reliance and self-sufficiency are even more important. Seneca believed each person must be his own best friend. Again, each person must be his own best friend. Here are Seneca's own words. The wise man is self-content. He is so in the sense that he does not desire friends. That does not mean, let me say that again. He is so in the sense that he is able to do without friends, not that he desires to do without friends. Again, Seneca believed the wise man is self-content. The idea is that if we are living wisely, that we will get most of our happiness from ourselves. This, of course, does not mean that we should live only for ourselves. This does not mean that we should live only for ourselves. Indeed, Seneca believed our happiness depends on promoting the happiness of other people. Again, his own words. No one can lead a happy life if he lives only for himself and turns everything to his own purposes. Again, Seneca's own words. No one can lead a happy life if he thinks only of himself and turns everything to his own purposes. The idea is, if we try to increase others' happiness, we will increase our own happiness. While Seneca did not emphasize the existence of a personal God, he, like his fellow Stoics, did believe there is a moral order in the universe. The Stoics, like the Buddhists, believe that when we do good in this life, we will be rewarded in this life. And when we do evil, we will be punished in this life. The Buddhists, of course, would add, and also in a future life. I think the best summary I can provide of Seneca, and this is my last segment of the 3 I've done on Seneca, is to give you this quote from him. Seneca said this, "I look for the best in life, but I am prepared for the opposite." Finally, Henry David Thoreau reminds us that we are all artists. In his masterpiece, Walden, Thoreau penned the following words, "To affect the quality of the day, that is the highest of arts."